Hi, this is Rabbi Orlofsky, and welcome to the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Whether you're watching with our friends over at Turning Time, or wherever you watch or listen to your podcast, as always, we're happy to have you along for this experience. This is going to be the long-awaited second half of the interview that I did with Nissim Black, and I got a tremendous amount of reaction from the first half, and I hope you enjoy the second half and the insights that are there that we've shared. I received one actually a number of people made the same interesting comment, and that is, I've seen Nissim Black interviewed on other podcasts, but this seemed much more of sharing as opposed to an interview. I appreciated that because, I said at the beginning that I didn't look at Nissim as an entertainer. I looked at him as a mashpia. So I hope you enjoy this. And as a special observation, this is our 5th anniversary show. I always like to get a special guest for the anniversary show, and so I got one. So please enjoy. This is the end of 5 years of the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. My gosh, what a long time. I don't do things for very long. And very few things do I have for that I keep going for such a long period of time. And amidst Hashem and the schus of all the good people who watch and listen and get chizuk from this show, we should continue for many years to come. And now the second half of my interview with Nissim Black. Bad enough that you're going to become an Orthodox Jew.
Right.
But you're going to become a Black Orthodox Jew in a almost entirely white community.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to give second thought.
Yeah, of course. Then you think about, was everybody going to think, where we came from think, what are they going to, the whole thing is just like you didn't want to know. So Hashem arranged that I think it was Erev Shabbos, I was at a grocery store and I was doing like a self-checkout. And in between the beep, I'm telling you, with bright lights, it was like music played from heaven. And I could hear all the angels going, oh, and I heard, Shabbat Shalom, brother, Yeah. And it was a Black Jew. And I said, yeah, of course. Come on. It's a Black Jew. And in Seattle, yeah. Yaakov Lennon was his name. Master Lennon, as we affectionately call him. And he had a karate outfit on, but I looked past it.
What are the odds?
What are the odds? So we had a beautiful conversation. He invites us for Shabbos. Today we call him Uncle Yaakov. He was really, we went to him the next 2 Shabbosim.
And didn't he warn you off to being a Black in the Orthodox community? Like,
yeah, of
It
course.
comes with a lot of challenges.
He definitely told us it was going to come with some challenges. Truth is, coming from where I came from, I grew up in Seattle.
The Orthodox community
he
comes
grew
with
up on the East Coast, though. You're right. That's true.
This is more than challenges.
You're right. But the truth is, when you grow up on the East Coast, like he did, and from the South, I think he's originally from the South and grew up on the East Coast or whatever. Look, I always say I haven't been to the South so much. Been there a little bit. Haven't been to, the heart of South Louisiana, where my wife is even from, stuff like that. So I don't know. But just from all the places I've been, like the most racial tension I would say ever seen was like on the East Coast. Like, I mean, it's where the place is like the most racist place in the world. I mean, think about all the boroughs. You have Black Harlem, Spanish Harlem. Nobody can even live in the same neighborhood. You understand what I'm saying? So everybody's got stereotypes on the other person and whatever. The Jews are like this, the Blacks are like this. Like, you come from 98118 where I came from, like, it's the most diverse zip code in all of this. So we grew up,
between the Hungarians and the Galiciana.
Yeah. So
you being a Galiciana? I can handle you being Black, but not Galiciana.
Exactly. So we didn't. So for me, whenever I would hear growing up, Black people who came from the East, that said like talk about the struggles, I always stop. Not by me. That's your world.
Right.
That's not by me. But it's where he come from, a guy who watched his father killed by the Ku Klux Klan when he was a kid. I mean, crazy story. He grew up seeing discrimination and different things like that. So he's 67, I think, Uncle Yaakov. You should interview him, by the way. But it's a crazy story. But so for him, I always thought, okay, yeah, I hear it. These struggles are not going to be my struggles. He's here in Eretz Yisrael. Yeah, Baruch Hashem, he's in Rechavia now. Thank God. We made Aliyah before him. He made it to Yiddishkeit first. I made it to Eretz Yisrael first.
You're so competitive.
Yeah, so competitive. And at least, and one up. So Uncle Yaakov was a big anchor for us in bringing us into the community. The first 2 Shabbos, and the other people we met started having us for Shabbos. They wanted to know. We're so interested. So that was really the way we started rolling in. And right around the beginning of that time, I think maybe the second, third week or whatever, there was a Messianic Jewish conference. Now at this point we already have 1 foot out of the door, you know, and it came down to an argument. You know, that was like one of the last straws for me, was an argument that we had on Shavuos with some of the chevra there. We were staying up all night learning, and the argument that we had was that who has the real authority? Is it Chachamim or is it the apostles? Mm-hmm. Now most yeshiva bachim are not having this, not having machlokas over this, right? Okay. So this was our argument, and we held, you know, me, my brother-in-law, and a couple other held that there was a chachamim, it wasn't the apostles. Whatever, we had our reasons for why. That was one of our arguments. That was like one of our last straws. And then they announced this conference is happening, it's coming to Seattle and whatever. And I remember being there for one of the meetings. We stepped in for somebody else, and they said, you know, whatever you do, no, there's going to be Orthodox rabbis who are going to come. You'll see them in the lobby, whatever. Don't talk to them. Don't say hello to them. Don't speak to them. Whatever you do, just look. That was like code of conduct. Who are these Orthodox rabbis? One of them was Rabbi Michael Skoback from Toronto. He's an anti-missionary. Other one was Rabbi Eli Cohen, who's a Chabadsker, but he's also an anti-missionary, works for Jews, for Judaism. And so they, you know, them and other people like them.
The famous one, Tovia Singer.
Rabbi Tovia Singer. He doesn't go to the conferences. I had to talk to him. He should really attend some of these. Anyway, so what happens is that they in the lobby, and what they do is they try to engage Jews in conversation. They're very well versed in the New Testament, very well versed in Tanakh, and they are qualified to have these conversations. Now, so we decided it was a 4-day conference. We will go, but instead of going in, we're going to go sit with the rabbis they told us not to go talk to, right? So, I mean, like now, we can have real conversations, you know?
Right.
So that's what me and my brother-in-law did. We sat with Rabbi Skoback and Rabbi Eli Cohen. I think he was in Melbourne. I think he was in Toronto now. I don't know where he is. But so we sat with them 4 days, kept going back. And we just were radically changed by the conversations that we're having. A lot of the things that we didn't think about. Now, fortunately, but unfortunately, they go with the intent to engage Jews in conversations at these end. And what happens is they end up making a lot of gerim. So I don't know if they realize the mission is or whatever, you know. There's a klal really in the Messianic world that wherever it's more like church, you find the most Jews there. Wherever it's the most frum, you find the most goyim there. This just is what it is. It's like,
when I taught nations today, because you talk to 3 guys, the one who's most interested is the Christian.
Right, all the time, you know? It's a very interesting thing. But so after that, we go back. We don't end up associating with the Messianic congregation anymore. My wife is serious about this. I'm with her. We're on the same page. And we start, looking. We go for a few chagim, and then we end up moving into the neighborhood. It was just like that quick. I mean, in a matter of weeks, we were already found a place.
Which
moved
shul
out.
were you going to?
I was going to Sephardic Bikkur Cholim in Seattle. Rabbi Ben Zakin, God bless him, he was became like a father.
And he wasn't surprised that this black family suddenly walks in.
He already had this other black Jew there. By the time we moved in, we definitely added to the pot. There was my friend Nachshon. He was also black and Jewish over there. So it wasn't a lot for a small community. There was a few.
It's a very small.
Black. Yeah, there's a few
it's
black.
The only place where there's 2 Sephardic shuls. There's also the Turkish one.
Yeah. Turkish and Rhodes. That's where I was at the Turkish shul.
And the one from Rhodes.
Yeah, one from Rhodes, right? Ezi Bezi. Shout out to Ezi Bezi. And then there was the Ashkenazi shul. And at the Ashkenazi shul at the time, they were in the process of changing rabbis. I think that was one of the reasons why we didn't go there. Everybody told us to go to the Sephardim. They're much more warmer. Plus, they told me the Berekas over there were much better. So I heard Berekas. I didn't know what it was, but it sounded geschmack. We ended up going over there. And
So when you went to the Turkish shul,
that's what I'm saying. It was there. They had barakahs. It was serious business over there. But it was a certain type of warmth. I guess it felt a little bit more culture than that. What's interesting about that was, like, we ended up going to Sephardi shul, and that's where we were. But I've always sort of been somewhat of a hybrid because in the Sephardi families were very, very tight-knit. It was like a mafia. Yeah. It's our family, very warm for everything.
The Syrian community doesn't even allow gerim.
Yeah, that's true. So by them, it wasn't a thing with them.
Sure, they have a big sign up, like, all the...
Really?
Tekanot or something,
Yeah, of course. Geschmack. Let me know where it is. I want to go. Anyway, so what happened is that, so because everybody was so... like my family only, not meaning they were very cordial, very nice and everything like that, but meaning not a lot of people invited us over. So we didn't learn a lot of the different Sephardi ways to do things, at least according to them. So, because not a lot of people had us over. And it wasn't on purpose. It was just like a cultural thing. That's what the culture happened. So who was having us over all the time? Ashkenazi families. So you can't imagine how confused we were about every single thing that we did. I'm learning Sephardi halacha. We didn't do anything like this. We don't do anything like that, So, and anyway, the other thing that was very hard for us also too, is just being very transparent. Is like coming from where we came from, studying Tanakh and eschatology, everything. We were on fire for Hashem. What I mean? I was spending 8 hours a day learning. I was, in order to find the truth, I was fasting 3 days at a time. I'd take a week. I would fast 3 days. I would go out crying to Hashem. Like, I was, like, we were coming in, like, fire, blazing. And everybody was just like, why are you guys taking this so serious? Don't understand. The Orthodox community. And just like nobody could understand what we were so excited about. Why are you sure you want to become Jewish? Like, what's the whole, like, why would you do that?
Someone asked Mati Berger once why we put so much money into the Kiruv movement instead of into the regular Jewish community. He said, because you need someone who still believes in this.
That's good. That's very good. Very good. Oh my goodness. I have Sipurim on that. But anyway, so that was a little discouraging, honestly. That was very discouraging for a lot of us. And that's really one of the biggest things that led me to Breslov, is because it had the book from
Rabbi Orlofsky in Seattle?
There wasn't, but what happened was as we started getting more and more into the Breslov Sephorim, especially by the time I came across Hishtapchut HaNefesh, was talked about Hitbul Dud. That was when I knew I wasn't crazy. And once I seen Rav Nachman talking about Hitbul Dud in that type of way, I read it in Rav Arush's books already, Garden of Amunah, different things. These things were keeping us through because, it was that verse, everything we were seeing that nobody thought we were like, everybody thought our marbles were off. Like, we were so excited about Yiddishkeit, you know what I'm saying? Like, you guys are so excited. People would tell us, like, it's like, what were we supposed to do? Like, that's what sort of kept us at bay. By the time I came across Rabbi Nachman's Sephorim and he was talking about just crying out to Hashem from that deep, like, that's how I found Yiddishkeit. That's how I got here, right? So for me, it was like the biggest relief. And I would say a living example of that fire that I saw was my Rebbe, Rabbi Brody, who was in Seattle at that time. And I met him early on. Rabbi Brody originally, I think, is from Silver Spring. But he was teaching at one of the schools there. And over the time, he had eventually started his own, like, a breakaway minyan. And then from that, it turned into a shul for Tekufa over there, like a new Saxford, more Hasidic style. And everybody that sort of, dated that, davened over there, and fiery davening. I'm talking about wow.
So you found your place.
Yeah, I found my place.
But he wasn't Breslov.
No, he had a big Breslov time because he spent 4 years Hasidish. For sure, the only shrine more in 1,000-mile radius, for sure. But it wasn't about just the Lavush and all that. Like, people ask it like today, it's like Lavush. Like, I didn't get caught up on externals necessarily because for me, be honest, I wasn't so fond of the Hasidic dress. Like, nobody, I mean, come on, I came from the hood. Like, this is just having this fur in your head. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just wasn't really something that I thought was geschmack. But what made it for me...
Hasidus, he said, because I used to be a minister and I looked dressed in black and white anyway. So
I kept it with it. That's funny. But what I seen over there is that his passion and fire for Hashem was just.
You're lucky you
unlike.
found that, because there are a lot of places
I know.
where you won't find any place like that.
I know. You don't understand how much I thank Hashem all the time that I had Rabbi Brody in my life, because me and my brother-in-law, we naturally gravitated, and it wasn't that everybody else is wrong, but I just it's a difference when somebody's passionate about Hashem, passionate about Yiddishkeit, and they're excited about it and all that. And we saw that by him, and he exuded that in everything that he did, the way he would make a bracha, the way everything. He probably would not want me to talk him up so much like this, but to be honest, I didn't see it. He was already he started pushing us to get up very early. I remember we used to get up very early in the morning. They come there, he was already in there talking to Shem, and he's booted this fresh out the mikvah and learning Torah in the dark, you know what I'm saying, with a candle, and just, I'm saying, by the time we start davening, my soul was ready to jump out my body when he started davening. When we shake a lulav, everything to him about Yiddishkeit was a big deal, you know what I mean? He wasn't a rambunctious person.
So they attached to families. You're going to families for Shabbos?
Yeah, we're going to families, and that was sort of what gave me my fire. And so then from there,
wait, but are you still doing rap?
I was still no. So yeah, I should have mentioned this. So even before we started the Geiros, I retired. I thought I retired. Technically, I retired. I didn't get a pension or anything like that, but I took some time off.
So what do you do now? So Amway? What are you supposed to do? How do you go from hip hop to what?
So I started working in property management.
There you go.
Yeah.
No wonder you became a Jew.
Yeah, I always reluctant to say that, because I know what line is coming right after I say that. Which wasn't even intentional itself. I started working at some, apartment complex and, as a facility coordinator. The year I said that, I was already, I didn't even make my mind up on the Geiros yet, but I wanted to be close to Shem, and I'm reading inside the Torah, you shouldn't work on Shabbos. So I didn't want to work on Shabbos anymore. And then, I didn't want to, and I was already ending my last, I had already came to the conclusion it was going to be my last rap album. And my conditions were that, they could keep all of the money, everything that came from it. Only thing I want is nobody asked me to perform on Shabbat. I don't have to do anything. Like, I'm off on Shabbat, and I don't want anything from this. I was so whatever. That year, working at the property management, from a facility coordinator, I got 4 raises that year. 4 raises. So somebody got fired, another person left, and they kept moving me up. They seen my customer service so good, so they started moving into leasing, and then I started moving my way up. And it was it was very, very, very interesting. Totally not qualified for the job at all, by the way. It just wasn't my type of thing. But, that's what happened. Just me trying to do at the time what I thought was right. So that was my last album, and fortunately or unfortunately, that was the one that blew up. Everything I was waiting for was that one record. When MTV and BET was something.
Really,
I was on rotation over there, full rotation. I was on college radio, the CMJ charts. I was beating out people like Jay-Z and most it was a big thing. They had closed.
So this was it. You were on the cusp of success.
I was on the cusp of success at my last album. I'm thinking, and I remember flying. I went to New York to play the CMJ festivals. CMJ, the College Music Journal.
I didn't ever think to yourself this is it. I've worked all these years for this moment. And
no, it gets worse. It gets worse. How bad it got. I remember going to play this festival, and I'm sitting over there with some of my favorite rappers that I grew up listening to and stuff like that. Some underground, some more mainstream. And I remember one guy, he was tapping his girlfriend to introduce me to D Black, introduce me there. And I'm like, man, I grew up listening to you. You want to introduce to me, you know what I mean? Having conversations with big people, and they all knew who I was. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have to introduce myself. That was crazy for me. And then to come back and be still, Hashem, I'd rather you.
Wow.
I'd rather you. I've been working so much up until that point. So
that's Mesiras Nefesh.
Yeah, it was Mesiras Nefesh. It was. I forget about it sometimes.
I was always waiting for them to be discovered.
Yeah.
Entertainment. It never happened.
Listen, you made it to Torah anytime.
Yeah.
This is big stuff. This is big stuff.
Yeah,
I don't think I have so many clips on Torah anytime. I haven't even made it.
I love my Torah anytime. Anyway.
So
all right. So now here you are in Seattle. You're on fire with God. You dragged along your wife's sister and her husband. You've just increased the Jewish black population by about 80%. Yeah. So now what happens?
So after that, we went through. It took us about 2.5 years for the whole Geras. We finished and we stayed there in the community. Baruch Hashem. We were there for about.
You got a good job now.
Yeah. Well,
property manager.
Well, some kind of happened over there with the property management. What happened was, to be honest with you, it just wasn't my cup of tea. Really, quite honestly, I love the people over there, so I really had separation anxiety. I would have never left, but I had a problem that my boss believed in my music more than I believed in it, even at that point, and she couldn't get it past her. She was just like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you not doing the career? Like, at this point, I'm at work, and they're watching me on BET and MTV, and they're going like, why are you doing this? Like, no, I'm doing, And
I'm finally living the dream.
Yeah,
property management.
Yeah, unfortunately, my position at the company was cut. I remember losing my job, and this all happened around the same time. I was getting that lighter. Yeah, probably. Exactly. No, sweet people, but it's so funny. I had friends and family, my wife, and other people around me were really pushing me, encouraging me to go back to music at this point now. This is already a year after this time now. And I'm like, there's no way in the world, God bless Modest, but Modest had definitely had a change of heart. This is just all the same year. Publicly.
Do you know him?
There were I do know Modest.
What happened?
I know him very, very well, but we're friendly.
You know what happened? Because he was like real stark.
I can. Here's my honest opinion, right? So I can't speak. I haven't talked to him about it. I want to talk to him about it. I just haven't had the courage and the time to really talk to him about it because I don't know how sensitive he is about it. Like I said, we're not that close. We're friendly, but I can imagine being in I would say somewhat similar position of how much you're dedicated to use your gift, right? Because Modest also came from that world. He didn't come from a frum world. He came from the world of reggae and everything. So he was really being true to himself and using his talent and trying to.
He did the concert and stuff like that. I mean, he was he was getting mainstream Jewish.
Right. Also too. So, but I think the thing is that still. We don't realize how much negative feedback really can affect you. It wasn't for every person, you can have 20 people that love you and one person that hates you and that bothers you. You understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
Or you could be hearing all the time, oh, this, you shy gets, what are you doing? And your whole, everything I said. I think that over time, those things started affecting him and the people that were embracing him were less. Like even me, right? I'm more embraced by people who are less frum than the people that are frum, right? For multiple reasons. And so
part of it, they don't speak the language of hip hop.
Yeah, so they don't speak the language, but it's no reason to. It's no reason to be ignorant of something or to touch a person a certain way just because you don't understand something. We see something we don't understand, so oh my goodness, immediately this is the and I think it gets us into a lot of trouble.
Israel is much worse than America when it comes to this.
I guess so.
A Sephardi came over to me once and said, "Do you know they have quotas for us in schools?"
Yeah.
I said, "Don't complain to me. I'm an American. They don't have quotas for us. They can just tell us no with no problem." It's worse to be an American to be a Sephardi because at least a Sephardi, you got a quota. Americans have nothing. But we're for sure an underclass.
Yeah.
They look at Americans as like, fat.
Yeah, of course.
So Americans it takes a toll on you.
Yeah, of course.
But I can make Israeli jokes. So that's how I get back.
Exactly. So can I. Talk about Uman. I got jokes. Anyway, so but because of that, and you're in that very, very unique position, and for him, I can only imagine it was a little bit, I would say even worse. I came in, I had my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, I had my wife.
He had no family?
Modest got married after, from what I understand, after he was already, well-known, different things like that. I don't think he came in. He was single when he started, from what I understand. So there was already certain grounding things or whatever that probably didn't happen as much. I don't know how long he learned in yeshiva before the success came. I hear it was a small tekufa time from the success into that. And me I'd already retired and lived 2 lives. And I was a property manager right there. So there was already a little bit of a difference.
An artist and a property manager.
Right. So I think that, those were the differences, but I can only imagine, like I'm saying, being in that type of position. And in a lot of ways, he was in a higher position than me. He was still on a major label. I've been with major labels, but he like really had a success on a major label. And I know how that goes,
What's he doing now? He's still performing?
He's still performing.
I
he's
gotta
definitely
hear from
still
him
performing.
anymore.
Yeah. I mean, they're not playing him at so many bar mitzvahs these days. It's just not ever happen. But he's still rocking.
In the outside world,
he's still rocking. He's still doing this thing. But I could, like I said, when you see stuff like that, when that situation happened, it scared me.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? That made me feel further like, okay, it's right. Of course I'm right. They can't go back to music. And it wasn't the same time in that same year that Matis, what most people don't know, it was like something was in the air. Because there were other Jewish artists who were less known than Matis that at least I knew, who were in the world of contemporary type of music. And they all was like just calling it quits that year. Wow. So I was like, this is like, if there's any more proof that this is not what to do, like, I don't know what there is, And yet there was this push from people that were around me, even Rebbeim that I talked to in Seattle and found out because I tried to keep what I did before a secret, and they got out.
Listen, when a black Jew walks into a shul in Seattle, what do they think they thought that you did? You were either a drug dealer or a rap singer. What did they think? Oh, this guy must be an ophthalmologist.
It's true. It's true.
I hate to say people stereotype, but hey,
It's the truth. People do stereotype. So whatever, people found out. They're very awesome about it. And people encouraged me to like do my thing. And I was pushing away from it. And really, I really try to rely a lot on Rabbi Brody because I felt like he was somebody very strong.
That's an unbelievable character to meet. There are very few people like that.
And so he was very reluctant to tell me anything. He didn't want to go one way or whatever. He said, let's keep davening, And so what happened was Hashem arranged that my eldest boy, at the time he's now my eldest boy, got sick with meningitis. He was in the hospital for about 2 weeks. And because I was a big chassid already, this forum from Rav Arush, he talked about, a person, if you're in a very hard situation, you need a big yeshua, you should daven to Hashem for 6 hours. You should pray. Wow. And whatever. So I really took this on, and I prayed. And I hit a certain place inside of my tefillah, and I start thinking about all these different people who were encouraging me, like, because I wanted to know what was out of place. I lost my job. Things are not going so geschmack. My son is sick. Like, we were going through a lot of sorrows at this time, you know what I mean? And I'm trying to figure out, like, what's going on? And I started thinking about that, and I started thinking, there's no way. And then I thought about a dream I had when I was a kid. I'm telling you, like, crazy dream. Super vivid of me doing what I'm doing now. Quite honestly, I was 1,000% a Hashem guy. I was talking about Hashem one time. I saw myself on a screen, and I remember this dream in the middle of me praying. And I remember when I was a kid, I woke. I was a teenager, 17 or so before Yiddishkeit. And I remember waking up from the dream. I was crying on the edge of my bed. I was like bawling, but I felt this major like. I'm telling you, when I had this dream, it was like unreal how much I felt Hashem was with me. Wow. And I was doing what I was doing, and I was just having a conversation about Hashem, but I was a famous rapper. And I remember this dream in the midst of this 6 hours, and I all of a sudden I start thinking like, wow, maybe this was the Hashem thing. So I tested Hashem. I don't recommend this at home. I had a broken Rode mic. We're talking on a Rode microphone. It was an NT2 microphone that was up in my closet collecting dust that, may have had a short. I don't know what the problem was, but it just didn't work. Anytime you plugged it up, it didn't work. And then it went on for a while like that from back when I was using it. And I davened. And afterwards, I plugged up the microphone. It worked. Maybe it just needed to sit for a while. But for me, that was a miracle.
It is a miracle.
And it, not only did it work, it kept working. I recorded a whole album on it from that. But even after it worked, after I hooked it up, I remember afterwards I was like so shocked. I went to my Rabbi Brody and I went to talk to him about it, and he gave me like 2-hour maybe lecture of Missy La Yishai Mama. You know what I mean? It was very deep, like Musa and whatever, and he gave me bracha. And at the time I was in touch also with Rabbi Laser Brody, because I was so scared. I just kept checking with whoever I could, that I felt like would be straight with me. And I remember I sent it like a sample song to Rabbi Laser Brody, who was at the time doing the English stuff for Rav Arush, and who I'd become very close with also, from Brody to Brody. And then he told me, like, you must do this. Like, it's not even a shaila. Like, to use your gift, you know how many people you could bring close to Shem. It's so encouraging. And I was just like, okay, so what do I do? And so I started, and I didn't know what, you don't understand. I didn't know that really there was even a such thing as Jewish music. Like I was listening to Cantus.
So don't worry about it. Go ahead. It died in 1982. I remember I was there when Mordechai Ben David put out Yidden. That was the end.
That was the end of it?
When they start playing a song and the girls give that primal scream, then you know that's not
it was over.
No one ever did that with Sabe.
That's very good. Very good. Very good observation.
Yeah.
However, so I didn't know what to do. I went back to the regular Goy Shechever that I knew, and all good people that I worked with before, and I was having no success.
You were going to do a Jewish album?
I didn't call it a Jewish album. I just called it positive. I wasn't really saying anything Jewish. I was talking about uplifting things and very positive album. And because I was still unclear about what to do.
Right.
It wasn't like I had straight clarity. And what happened was everywhere that the PR team and everybody would go back to me later, just like, listen, to be very honest with you, this album is just like way too positive. We have no outlets. Nobody's writing on it. And like, this stuff is just too like positive. Like nobody.
You can't sing hip hop to Pat Boone songs.
Right. It was just like, which it was so striking to me because my last album that I put out was also very positive. It was just very black. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Like sonically was much more hood, much more that type of way. Even though I was talking about positive things, but nobody really noticed because the beats were knocking. You know what I mean? So, but when I tried to go more alternative route, I tried to lighten up the music and different things like that. They just like, man, we just really don't know how to interpret it. I was like getting no bites. Do you understand from being like the top guy on all the blogs and everybody was talking about DJ Premier was running and I don't even know who he is, but I'm talking about, he's one of the godfathers of hip hop, right? Sure. So I had a lot of support from but there was just nothing. People.
I was lucky. I was never successful, so I never had to.
You never had to. Yeah,
that drop.
The drop. So that was like that was discouraging. So I thought maybe I made a mistake. Maybe it wasn't for me. I just didn't have any direction. So we go.
What
through
happened to that album?
The album's still around. People can still listen to it. It's called Nissim. It was titled self-titled Nissim. And I sprinkled in a few words here and there, but I wasn't really like, it definitely was, I wouldn't say like a Jewish album. I also too, I don't really consider my music like Jewish more than less than. I make music about Hashem. And so I try to make it universally enough to where anybody who wants Hashem can get down with it. So anybody that doesn't, probably not shy for them. But so after that album, we released it and got what we got back, which was nothing. I ended up going homeless with my family for about a year. It was literally a year. We had to be out on June 1st, and because I didn't have work, and obviously the music thing wasn't going for me. We were homeless from June 1st to June 1st. So we ended up moving in to a place after I ended up working, job for like a company that was. Like back then, I didn't notice like a difference between being like woke and not being woke or whatever. But this place was like ultra woke, and plus it's Seattle. I mean, come on, it was like super duper left in a lot of areas, and I didn't know the difference between left and right either. Mm-hmm. I just know I was butting heads with a lot of these, and a lot of stuff was around Israel, to be quite honest. And so. I remember during that Tekufa, we were having like debates, Trayvon Martin gets killed, and I'm somebody from the hood. And then the 3 boys get killed and kidnapped, in Israel at the same time, and we're sort of having different type of sympathies. And I'm supposed to be siding with this because, so we were having like very heated arguments. I didn't know the difference between right and left. And I still don't know that much. But anyway, it was a very hostile environment for me to be in with my views on faith and different things like that. And it wasn't for everybody else. There were good people, just wasn't the same way. So I started working there. It was good enough for me to get into a new place or whatever, but I quickly left and started working for Kollel. Now, from a financial decision, that was a mistake. However, for a Ruchnius decision, it was very, very good for me. So I started working with the Kollel there in Seattle. And, we're still trying to make everything. And during this time, a friend of mine reaches out to me and is like, hey, have you ever heard of this song, Hashem Elech? Now, I'm thinking to myself, of course, who hasn't heard of this song? What type of question is that everybody heard of the song? Now, still not knowing there's a Jewish, music industry, as you said, that doesn't exist. So I'm just like, yeah, I heard this song. He's like, would you do a remix for it? I said, yeah, okay. Shout out to Elon Cohen. That's what was it called me. And so he calls the guy Elbaz. He calls me back and he says, okay, we're going to do this song, whatever. And I'm thinking to me, I'm going to make this record over there. But I was already at this point past having a music career. I'm working a regular job now. I have, a gewaldige coffee and cake with Rabbi Brody afterwards over some Nesiva Shalom after davening. My life is made for me right now. The last thing I think about is rebooting my rap career. I'm still doing music because I felt like I got that call. This is what I'm supposed to be doing, but I wasn't so active. I didn't know what I was going to do. However, what happens is we end up doing this song, and before the song actually came out, it was maybe 5 to 6 months lapsed before Hashem Elech actually came out, me and God's version. But I had already recorded it. So I was somewhere in London with the Nakuda Tova Chevra, and they had a kumzitz, and they started singing it. So they all asked me to rap because they knew I rap. So I already had something to Hashem Elech already. So it was perfect. We didn't set up anything, but they just did it. So I started doing my parts from Hashem Elech, and it goes viral online before the song actually comes out, right? So then when we start crowdfunding for a video, everybody's like, yeah, I want to see that video. So people funded the video from crowdfunding, and we ended up putting out the video. And I'm telling you, by the time it came out, I'll tell you where I was. We were 2 months behind on my rent. I didn't know where my next dime was going to come from or whatever. And I wasn't I should have been more conscious and been more worried about it. But something inside I was so sure that Hashem is going to take care of me. I had no idea what it was, and I knew that I needed to focus on my craft. When I came back from shooting Hashem Elech, and it had dawned on me, I said, Hashem, this was it. This is what you were trying to show me. I'm supposed to be, I'm a you guy, right? So that's the biggest thing for me. And a lot of people teach me wrong, but they need to understand. For me, I was put here to be a Hashem guy, and everybody wants that because I have this great cross-cultural type thing where you're black, you're Jewish, you come from over here, whatever. Gewaldic, that's great, but I'm a Hashem guy, and I realized throughout my life, anything that doesn't have to do with Hashem, I have a very short gavul of how much I can entertain it. You understand what I'm saying? Even if I get excited about it, I have a very short gavul of how long I can give my energy to it, because I start to feel like it's not tachlis for me, right? So if it starts to feel it's not my purpose. So for me, the moment have a song called Hashem Elech, I'm like, wow, Hashem, I'm all in at this point. I'm really all in. I was already 3 months behind on my rent by the time this song comes out. I didn't know where my next dime was coming from, and I was literally in the forest of the upper loop of Seward Park. Everybody knows what it was. Every day, 22 days, I was 6 hours crying out to Hashem. And I was davening on? That I should be mashpia to people. That I should bring Hashem's light. This is what I was davening. I was spending the bulk of my davening. I spent a little bit of time on my rent, but I guaranteed you, not over here talking to Hashem. Even now, I have a tough time. I'm a breast lover, but I don't do all his advice. One thing I don't ask enough for is material things. I don't. Not because I don't really believe. It's just very hard for me. I really believe that if I can correct myself in my ruchnius, then Hashem will also handle my gashmias. So for me, sometimes I forget to mention my gashmias to Hashem. I don't think it's a good thing. I think I should more. But even back then,
says, I don't need money as long as I can buy whatever I want.
That's a good line. That's a very good line. Yeah. So it's actually become a schlepper, right? But yeah, for sure. But so that's what happened. Day 17 of me doing these tefillas, the song comes out and goes viral. Now, not only viral by Jews, it went by non-Jews also too. It's
Really?
number 3 on the world charts when it comes out. Yeah, people don't realize how big this song went. So it hit number 3 on the world charts. And it's like everywhere from all over the world, people were calling me. I was getting called for bar mitzvahs, getting called, and I couldn't believe, like, this. All of a sudden, there's this Jewish music industry, and there's like you didn't even know. We're called the concerts, and I came to one of God's concerts. I remember there, and there was like thousands of people there, and I'm like, people like really like there's an industry of like Jewish music, like people.
I didn't realize when you said you went to God, you meant God.
God Elbaz, yeah. I usually make sure people know that I was talking about God Elbaz. You know, definitely not the same guy. Not the same guy. I love God.
So suddenly that's it. Now you're
So that was the beginning of that journey. Now all throughout this, you talk about moving quickly. We moved to Eretz Yisrael maybe a month or so after this.
But aren't you flying around the country now doing mitzvahs and weddings and stuff?
But once I got the call, I had a considerable amount of calls, and I went for it. We moved to Eretz Yisrael. So most of them came after I'd already was even making Aliyah. People were calling for months in advance. So I thought, okay, so listen, first few months we're in Israel. Baruch Hashem, we have some work or whatever. I did not think, 7, 8 years later, I would still be doing it. We didn't have no idea. I'm talking about we moved to Eretz Yisrael. We didn't have an apartment. We didn't know where we were going to stay. Now, people would say I'm a sugar, and it's partly true. But you understand.
I think we've more or less established that already.
We're established
throughout the entire story. I used to think Bali Juba were difficult, but gay women are impossible.
No doubt about it.
Oh yeah, Baruch.
But it's so hard for me to explain, and I don't want to sound even crazier, but I'll be very, very honest. One of the things that's always been hard for me to adjust to, and I'm not saying was rationality, right? To some degree, because on our way into Yiddishkeit, because we believed in Hashem so strong, we seen so many different Giluyim. We saw Shiad Hashem like crazy. And there's Makoros for this in the Seforim, for sure. Specifically, look to Halachot. Reb Nassim talks about what Hashem does for Gerim sometimes, and talked a lot again. We shut up because we're coming to communities. Everybody looks like we're crazy, but Hashem is so alive.
They probably picked up on the fact that you were a Ger, though.
Yeah. Oh well. I wonder why.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
Although if you buy the Smartim, you go either way. There's some Smartim who take a pass.
1,000%. But because we were like had this fire, so for us, Hashem was so real to me that we were willing to move to Eretz Yisrael. By the time my wife moved, it was sight unseen. She never been to Eretz Yisrael. I had already been a year, a few years before. A friend had brought me on just a try. For me, I said I was scouting, but for him, it was just to see.
And that was your first time in Eretz Yisrael.
And that was my first time in Eretz Yisrael. It was 2013.
Mind blowing.
So then we moved at 2016, the beginning of that year. So 3 years later, we moved, and we didn't have an apartment. We told Nefesh Ben Nefesh a place we were looking at. Sorry, Nefesh Ben Nefesh, but we didn't have it. We got a place after the move here. In Rechavia.
But when you came off the plane, where'd you go?
We went and met up with an agent and went looking for a place immediately.
But where'd you sleep that night?
That night we got a place. We took
that night, right away.
That night. Hashem is with us, man. I'm telling you that if you believe in Hashem will be there.
You gotta buy me a lottery ticket.
You gotta buy me a lottery ticket. I never thought of
you don't dive in for your guys. So how about me?
I gotta be a ball patach and buy a lottery ticket. Anyway, but the truth is that, I mean, when we came, we got into a place, but we're here. Can you imagine the amount of confusion that we had going on over here? Like, we just had no idea. We moved to Rechavia. Like, it was still a lot of Americans over there also, too. And then, whatever. So we still didn't know where we're going. Then you go to Meir Shar. The dynamics of all the different places we were. Everybody had horror stories about school. So we didn't even try to put our kids in school for the first 6 months that we were here. The whole thing was just like bullying, confusion. I was with one clever people that started, the mashpia over there started going a different way. And it was just like, and now I'm touring. I'm traveling back and forth all the time also too. It took me so long to get my Israeli passport. Huh?
God bless your wife.
God bless her. Yeah, she was.
Because she's left here with the kids.
She's left here
in Israel.
Don't speak a lick of Hebrew. Don't speak nothing. But we were, call us crazy or whatever. But Baruch Hashem, it led us to a place to where it led us a very real and awesome, tangible relationship with Hashem because already we're Gerim, right? Already we look different like everybody else. So what does it matter to me that I'm going to do things a little different also too? If I try to do what you're doing, am I going to fit in later on? No, I'm not. So it doesn't matter, I had to cut a friend's hair, okay, Yaakov, I remember. I was cutting his hair. And before I cut his hair, somebody had told him, he had dreadlocks. He was growing dreadlocks at one point, and somebody said to him, why don't you just he's black, by the way. You just cut your hair, man, so you could look like the rest of us. And he looked at me and said, if I cut my hair, I'm still not going to look like the rest of you. What you talking about? So nothing you could do to fit in. And there's a very famous quote, that when you were born to stand out, why try to fit in when you were born to stand out?
When my son was 5.
Yeah.
So we had some people over from the Heritage House, and he had an earring. Uh-huh. And my son is staring at him. And he whispers to me, he says, Abba, he's an Eved. That was the only context he had for somebody would have a ring in their ears.
That's too funny. Wow.
If I cut off my hair, then I'll fit in.
So that's my story, all the way from Hashem Melech to Love Me, my new song that's out, I over the years.
So let's talk about music. So now you're flying around.
Yeah.
And how many albums have you made now, those 8 years?
I didn't make a lot. I put out a lot of singles. I didn't make a lot of albums, but I think I put out, I think this is my 4th studio album now. Yeah.
What's your second hit after Hashem Melech?
The second hit after Hashem Melech was Million Years.
And then
Fly Away. And then, those were the next biggest songs that I put out that I'm probably most known for, at least in the Jewish world. And the non-Jewish world, I'm probably most known for my Motherland Bounce song.
Right.
But and as much as people, I know they love that song, it's sort of like an illegitimate child of mine. It is. That's one of the biggest, toughest parts about this is I haven't spoken so openly about this. I'm kind of giving you some jewels that nobody else is really going to get or haven't gotten up until this point. But I've been more open about it over the years because,
well, people know that I also don't fit in any place, so they're okay.
Really? It's all good. And I say this not in a way as one to fit in, but I just want to be honest with myself. I put out song Motherland Bounce. I was working with another label, and my inner core people who were around me in terms of my career had changed. And I don't think anybody had bad intentions, but one of the things that happens when you start to experience some type of success is that everybody has the best version of you for you. You understand what I mean?
Sure.
And
especially when you're a performer, because you have handlers.
Exactly.
And they have an idea of the brand.
And they can see everything's busy with brand. What is your brand, right? And because I'm black and I'm from the hood and people admire that so much for some reason, what happens is a lot of times is that people start to say listen, Nissim, we want to see you like this. I think about, I was hosting Bacham at my house for many years. I was living in Meisharim for a couple of 2.5 years. Every Friday night I was home, have 30, 40 Bacham, usually from Brisk, from the Mir, from Soloveitchik, Slumbovitz. We're boys from all the Mitsuyanim yeshivas, whatever you want to call it. And these were the bulk of the boys that come. Every once in a while, the Aish boys will come or whatever. But for the most part, I had,
super
starker chevra, yeah. And never without fail, there was at least a boy or two who want to make me feel comfortable, so they'll start talking like somebody from the hood, until they realize I'm not talking like that. It's
you speak Yiddish?
I don't speak Yiddish. Not yet. My Yiddish is weak. I understand it quite a bit, though. I do understand Yiddish quite a bit.
I have these videos of these black guys who speak Yiddish.
You speak Yiddish?
They're beating me out because I don't speak Yiddish.
You speak Yiddish, right?
My parents only spoke it when they didn't want me to know
I got to
what's
work
going
on it. It's a little bit of a busha. So what happens is they try to make me feel comfortable. So what happens is what develops over time by people is listen, Nissim, I see you like this and I see you like that or whatever. So, and it was perfect timing, I think, when I released the song because my kids were being rejected from school because they were black. right?
Really?
Yeah. You say Israel over there, at least in America, sometimes they won't tell you, but in Israel, for sure, it's not politically correct. I'm not being...
Listen, if they kick you, they didn't kick out you were black, it's just Sephardi.
Right. Exactly. Can you imagine how many strikes I had against me? Oh my goodness.
Already, that's too much.
I remember one time I went to one school and the Hanhala, whatever, it's, have his kids come here. Look, if he comes here, make Hashem Yerachem with his kids, expose our kids to, and all this other stuff. Now, when I went there, all the girls were coming out going, "Oh, Nissim Black is here. Nissim Black is here." This is all the girls that were coming out saying that. My daughter, up until that point, had never even seen a clip of mine. She didn't know why people were stopping us and all this other stuff. And my kids were way less exposed. Even still to today, my daughter's having a complaint with me last night because she didn't know certain, ABCs by the rest of her friends. But for her, we didn't expose our kids to the same. My kids didn't know what basketball or football were until we moved to Ramat Beit Shemesh. For sure, they had no idea. So
Rabbi Sinclair used to tell his story, and then he said he sensed at some point it was making his kids uncomfortable.
Really?
So he used to tell the story about somebody else.
So,
instead
that's
of
a good
his
way to
story.
tell his story. That's very good.
know?
That's very good. So
It'll be harder for you.
it would be
I
a
knew
little
this
bit.
black guy.
Yeah. Exactly. I don't know if anybody will buy it. I don't know if anybody will buy it. But I have to say this. So this was a deviation for me because I was having all of that. I remember I started this record, and somebody who was a really good friend of mine was like really pushing me to finish that song, and I didn't want to finish the song because I started it like jokingly, you know what I mean? I was just freestyling one time, and the lyrics were coming out, you know, like old school, and eventually I was in the studio one time. I was recording on something else, and then he's like, no, it comes in. He's like, man, you got to finish that song. That song you got to finish. So I ended up putting it out. Now the truth is, the song comes out, it goes viral. And even when we had thought, I went to in the non-Jewish world, yeah, for sure. Even in the Jewish world, but for sure in the non-Jewish world, this song ends up becoming like super viral, right? To where like I was already part of a label, but every other record label started calling me in afterwards. I was by Universal, Warner, Republic. Everybody wanted, because everybody was hearing about this song. It was getting shared a lot. So anyway, some people took it way too serious, but even still, it was such a deviation from my usual thing. But you don't realize it until afterwards. You start going like, this, everybody pushed me because nobody had bad intentions, but this is how we want to see you. This is how we want to see you. And the truth is that all the time, if a person's not checking themselves, you will always be pushed in a direction that's not really you. If you're listening to other people tell you who you are, and it's not who you are. So for me today, and very, very much so, I don't care. I look at it as
the cuts.
Exactly.
If I am I, because you are you. Right.
Avada.
You should make a song about that.
I probably should. I do have a song about it on the new album. On the new album, I do. It's called Someone Else. I do have a song about it. Someone Else, and I wrote it because of that Takuf I had with
New album's
Motherland
called
Bounce.
Glory.
New album's called Glory.
Coming out in November.
And the reason why I have this song Someone Else was because of this Takufa that I went through, and also how many boys I talked to who are Bacham, who everybody's struggling with. Who am I really? And I thought for sure, like Hashem, I'm done with these type of stuff. I don't have to go through these things. I'm serving Hashem, I'm with my shmir, and then all of a sudden you get hit and with reality that, listen, if you're not 100% chazak to really stay focused on what your mission is in this world, somebody will give you a mission. You understand? Yeah. So you have to be focused on your mission. And my mission is bringing people close to Hashem. And I had my Yishmael. I hold Motherland Bells. I still perform it for people because I know especially for the Bacham, they're really into gets the blood going. But every time I try not to perform in most places, just because for me it's like, it's a Yishmael. It's not Yitzchak. It wasn't my Yitzchak. It was my Yishmael. It was me trying to think, if I could be Makar, if more people, everything. So I said, but me, my regular schedule programming is Hashem, and openly and not side door talking about Hashem. I'm not trying to talk it. If I don't say Hashem in the song, it's just because it didn't come out in the word, but you're definitely going to know what I'm talking about if you're listening to what I'm talking about. But consciously being very, very open about my relationship with Hashem and trying to bring people close to Hashem is really what my music is all about.
So, L'chvod Sukkos, can we ask you to do one song. I mean,
You didn't put that on the question sheet. I didn't know you were going to do that.
I don't have any accompaniment, but I think, if I'm correct, with hip hop, you don't need that.
If I'm even hip hop,
if it's Kobach, I at least need a guitar.
if I'm even hip hop anymore,
I'm not going to be able to join in because I don't speak that.
Come on.
I listen to Al Jolson.
Got it.
Miami,
Right.
So everyone's waiting. They say, gosh, I had Ari Goldberg sing. I had
right. Okay, so we have to do something. So I guess one of my favorite
things. Otherwise, they'll accuse me of discrimination.
Of course, we don't want that. We definitely don't want that. So I'll say over, and I think maybe I say these words a cappella sometimes because when the music's going, you don't always hear what a person says, especially with rap. It comes off very fast, and people complain that the rap's too fast. And whenever I say, listen to your shliach tzibor, whatever. Anyway,
learn how to listen faster.
Learn how to listen faster. Because if you're not hearing me, for sure you're not hearing the shliach tzibor in the morning also, right? So whatever.
Good.
So anyway, the hardest thing to deal with is to move without feelings. Seeing signs on all sides, but don't know what the real is. I don't know what your will is. Feeling my back's against the wall. I see all of my mistakes, and I desire to fix them all, but without you, it's impossible. And from my insides, I will call, but then it don't even ring. Because they all say how much you love me, so how could it be that you would let me destroy myself? I need saving from me. So when they write inside my book, use my tears as the ink so they can testify on me. All I did to break free, just to glorify your name, because I gave back what you gave to me. I'm falling down, so can you lift me? There you go. Shkoya. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Trevor, what's the best Nissim Black song?
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Okay, so I'll take it. Fly Away is really, really big song. I'm very, who loves the song the most? It's a big hit by the Hasidim.
Yeah.
They love Fly Away. I want to fly away.
So
Beautiful place.
We'll do a Fly Away.
I want to fly away, far, far away from this place when nobody can bring me down. When nobody can bring me down. And then my brother-in-law goes, hey. That's it. So he was like an example demo thing, but we left it in the song. So yeah. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Nissim Black.
It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and Simcha, ready to go. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Knowledge and wisdom will help you grow. Lots of fun in every episode. And we don't have to rhyme. No, we don't. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show on RabbiOrlofsky.com. Torah, anytime, YouTube and more. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and Simcha, ready to go. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Till next time, till we meet again. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.